So the best tip I can give you is number one, first and foremost, you have to set boundaries around your time. We hear all the time that if I were to ask either of you, what are your priorities?
Hey everyone, it's Melanie Johnson. So glad you could join us today. I'm one of the founders and CEOs of Elite Online Publishing, where we make people number one best-selling authors. And guess what? My co-founder and owner is here as well, Jenn Foster. Hey, Jenn.
Hey everyone, how's it going today?
It's Friday where we're recording, but you might be listening to this on any day of the week. You know what? I have an amazing guest on. Jenn and I have an amazing guest on, and she can talk about so many different things. And I was thinking, what is the best way to introduce her? And we were talking in the green room saying, well, if it was Friday, which it is, and we were having a glass of wine and we were just, these hot women just hanging out for the day, enjoying the beautiful weather, we'd be talking about all kinds of things. So we're going to talk about real estate, how to go from $4 to seven figures in real estate. And, I love real estate. I dabble in real estate, invest in real estate. And then we're going to talk about inspiration, kind of motivation in life, how to not get burnt out. And Jenn and I were just having this conversation the other day. We just said, are we burnt out on publishing? Like, let's check in. We were doing a check-in. Are we burnt out being moms? Are we burnt out being, with life? Are we, how do we, because we were having a burnt out day. So we thought we'd have this burnt out, ask those questions about all the categories of our lives. So this is like girl talk today, and who knows what rabbit hole we are going to go down. So we have Jacki Semerau Tait with us today. She has a children's book. She's part of another book. She is an amazing inspirational woman, and she's $1 million real estate agent. Jacki, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background, Jacki, and how you ended up on Les Brown's stage.
Oh, that's one of my favorite things. So I had a period of time in my life that we may be talking about today. I call it my $4 story, but I was down to my last $4. And I had a friend who poured into me and gave me Les Brown's 6 CD set called Choosing Your Future. And in that time in my life, I had, I'm dating myself, I understand, but I had a 6 CD changer in my car. And so I had all the CDs just in the car and I just listened to them on loop. And Les's words reached in and helped change my mindset and therefore my reality over time. And so then that was back in 2008, 2009. Fast forward to 2021, and I had the opportunity to be personally mentored by him. And it was the most amazing thing, the way that it just all came full circle. And so for the year of 2021, I got to mentor with him personally. We met, I think I spent anywhere between 8 and 12 hours a week with him. It was phenomenal. And then we did his only live event in 2021 and his first live event post-COVID, and got to share the stage with him. And it was truly an amazing experience. I know there's a lot of people, there's that saying that says, you never want to meet your heroes because you might be let down. It was the opposite of that with Les. It was such an amazing thing. And he's even more inspirational and motivational when you get to spend that kind of quality time with him. So it was really an amazing experience.
Wow. Well, tell us, all right, you kind of set us up for the $4 story. Tell us the $4 story. How do you go from your last $4 to selling millions of dollars of real estate a year?
So I was in real estate. I've been in real estate since 2002, and my journey's been pretty varied through that time. But or I should say right before the Great Recession of 2008, I was in real estate sales full time. And I had a couple of bad beats. I had about $2 million in real estate in escrow when the stock market crashed in June of 2008. And when that happened, my deals went away. Everything canceled. Everybody's financial reality changed in that moment. And so that left me going, when those were in escrow, I thought, okay, if even one of these closes, I'll be okay momentarily, but I wasn't okay in the moment because of all of the, economical fallout. And so when it all fell apart, I was left with, I'd been living off my credit cards. I was left with credit card debt, didn't know what to do. I still remember the time when I had to make the difficult decision to stop paying my mortgage or to feed my kids. So it was one or the other. And at the time, you don't look at it as, oh, now I'm just going to stop paying my mortgage and all the things that are going to happen afterwards. You look at it and go, okay, I'm going to make this decision this month so I can keep the lights on and keep the kids fed, but I'll catch up. And I could never catch up. So eventually my house went into foreclosure. I ended up short selling my home and moving in with my parents. Again, thinking couple months, get back on the feet, off to the races. Wasn't the reality. I lived with my parents for 2.5 years while I tried to get back up on my feet. And so during that period of time, real estate was an incredibly tough thing. I'd already been beat down by it a little bit. So even though I was keeping my hand in real estate, I also leaned back on my marketing and advertising expertise and was helping small business owners with their marketing. And so doing all of this, I'm doing the work, but then I'm putting out the invoices, again, just as an independent contractor. So I'm putting out the invoices and they're also having to make tough choices. And so the marketing person got the slow pay while they continue to make their payroll or keep their lights on. And so I wake up one morning and I find my reality that one of my bank accounts is at a flat zero. The other bank account is overdrawn. And in my purse, I have 4 single dollar bills to my name. And that's it. And so in that moment, it really was a low of the lows where you go, okay, I'm doing the work. I think I'm doing everything I possibly can. And yet here I am. And so a few things that transpired to get me out of that. Number one, I had help from a friend. Just that day, that friend was able to help me. My daughters were about to start a new school. I didn't have money for school clothes. It gave me a little bit of money so I could buy them school clothes. And then in a few days, I ended up getting one of the biggest invoices out there that I had that got paid. And I don't know if you all remember that movie with Will Smith, The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah.
Do you remember the scene where he's trying so hard to sell these clunky medical devices and he finally sells one? And so he gets the money for it. And the line that he uses is he says, it was 5 weeks of oxygen. And that was exactly how I felt when that invoice got paid. I went, okay, oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And so, during that time, yes, you keep ducking and weaving, you keep moving the pieces around, looking for opportunities. I was able to connect with some great opportunities. But you fast forward, and I did end up going back into real estate sales full time in 2014. And I had been coaching real estate agents prior to the Great Recession. Kind of all the rules went out the window when the economy tanked. But then getting back into real estate myself, my husband and I moved to Flagstaff, Arizona, which is where I'm at now. And I knew nobody. I knew 3 people, 2 of whom were real estate agents. So I was like, all right, I got to recreate my business. And I looked at it as an opportunity to say, okay, all the coaching I used to do, I'm going to put all of that into play. And one of 2 things are going to happen. Either A, I'm going to prove that what I coach works. That's the good news. Or B, I'm going to prove that it doesn't work. I'm full of garbage and I need to figure out something else to do. So the good news is I did prove it worked. Within my very first year in Flagstaff, ended up selling over 20 homes. And then it's just been an upward trajectory since. So here we are today. I have a business partner. We have a team of 6 agents plus a transaction coordinator. We're selling real estate all over Northern Arizona, and we've been in top 1% of our Realty One Group brokerage nationwide for the last 5 years running.
Wow,
So,
that's so great. Well, I love that you took the risk, because Melanie and I were talking about risks earlier. And it's like, if you don't take the risk, like, you were willing to fail. You were like, it might not work, right? And I think today people think, oh, I just have to win. I can't fail. I can't fail. But the truth is that if you take the risk, you might fail. But if you don't take the risk, you're never going to win, right?
So true. It is so true. You have to be willing to put it out there and fail. The good news is, I mean, I look back at my entire career. I mean, I'm not going to say how old I am, but I'm old enough to have a long history behind me. And I look back at all of the failures, quote unquote, failures that I experienced, but how each one of them led me to the next step in my career. So I can honestly say that, yes, I've been in real estate for 22 years, but I didn't just jump into real estate and automatically become a top producer. It was a long haul to get here. And so I think you have to be willing to put yourself out there and go, okay, if this doesn't work, how will it serve the next part of my story?
Yeah, you got to have failures to get to the success, especially in real estate. You've got to be able to sustain yourself for a few years and the money's going out. I always get so mad about, I have my real estate license. I'm like, this thing, and I don't do much with it really. And I'm like, this thing cost me like $2,500 a year just to have the license and have it hung somewhere. But tell us, you'd use a real good strategy about referrals, and
Mhm.
referrals are good in every business, I think. So tell us how you leverage referrals.
Well, I think that well, in real estate specifically, but like you said, in any entrepreneurial venture or any sales based
Mhm.
business, you have to rely on the power of your relationships. You know,
Mhm.
that old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I think there's a little bit to that. I think it goes a little step further. It's not really who you know, it's who knows you.
Mhm.
And so you've got to get yourself out there. You have to be willing to know others and be known by others. And so a lot of that does come into sharing your story, being transparent, but also not just sitting at home behind your computer screen and hiding behind emails and things like that. You have to get out there, you have to network, you have to meet people face to face. You have to meet people, I call Zoom face to face as well, because it's our new reality of face to face.
Yeah.
And also, you have to pick up the phone and call people. But my whole basis of the phone calls that you're going to make is, yes, you're trying to uncover opportunities where you can use your expertise to help others. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. I'm not trying to convince somebody to use me as their realtor. I'm
Yeah.
calling people trying to uncover, do you have a need for real estate right now? And if you do, then you need an expert to guide you. And I'm there. I know I have what it takes to help you. And if you don't think I'm your right expert for you, that's okay. You know, it's fine. We can still be friends. It's all good. But I know that I can help these people when I do connect with those real estate opportunities. So to me, the power of referrals happens when you call other people, connect with them based on not your needs, but their needs. And you check in. Hey, how are you? How's life treating you? You know the names of their pets or their kids or their whoever is in their life. You know a little bit about them as a human being, and you can make that connection. And then from there, you can either help them or they remember you as that person. And that's where the power of the referral comes in. But when you're making those connections, they're sharing your name with their friends. When their friend says, I'm thinking about selling my house in Flagstaff. They go, oh my gosh, I've got the perfect person. You have to connect with her. And so there's the power of the relationship that turns into a referral.
Hmm. I love that. So you're a top real estate expert now, and you have a book. Tell us a little bit about your books.
Well, my very first book was a children's book. It's called A Time to Fly, and it is about a baby robin who is terrified to learn to fly. And his mom saying, hey, it's time. And so the baby robin is like, listen, how about I try all these other things? And so he points to other animals who do other things. And the mama robin, in her patience and wisdom, says, that's not going to work for you because that's not how you were created. That's not your gift. That's not your talent. And so eventually, baby Robbie jumps out of the nest. He flies and he learns he's actually really good at it. And it is truly a story about connecting with the gifts that you have and using them to your full potential. I like to say it's my children's book version of my autobiography because I
Uh-huh.
fought my talents for a long time before I finally said, okay, this is who I am. Here's where I excel. Let's step into it and use that. So that was my first book that I wrote. And then since then, I've actually been a part of 3 different compilation books, and that's been a real honor. But one of which was with Les Brown as one of the co-authors. And so that was an amazing experience too.
Oh, terrific. Well, in the beginning of the show, we talked about burnout. So let's dive into burnout. You sound like you have some solutions to burnout. How do we avoid burnout? I think we all get it at one point or another, whether it's from lack of sleep that makes us tired or things going on. You're like, I've just had enough. I can't take it today. How do we avoid it?
So the best tip I can give you is number one, first and foremost, you have to set boundaries around your time. We hear all the time that if I were to ask either of you, what are your priorities? You might tell me something like family, you know, my spouse, my kids, my parents, my whoever's important to you in your life. You're going to say that's probably one of the top priorities. But if I were to say, okay, now open up your calendar and show me how they are your priority, they're probably not even on there. So and I think we're all guilty of this. So you have to set boundaries around when you are spending time with your priority people, sometimes family, sometimes friends, sometimes just yourself. You have to set those boundaries so that you have time for your priority people. And so when you're at work, but when you're done working, you're pouring into your family. There's situations where an example is you go out to dinner with your spouse, and especially in real estate, this happens a lot where people expect you to just be at your beck and call at all times, at all hours. And I think it's something that the real estate industry has kind of done to itself, but I think it's because you know that their purchase and or their sale of their home is such a major life event for them that you want to be as readily available as you can be. But that's the first way you're going to burn out. You're not going to be good for anybody. So in my world, we started with when the kids were littler and they were at home, it started off with just saying, listen, no phones at the table. No phones at the table. And, if there's nothing that's going to happen that an hour of silence from the phone is going to blow up. And sometimes in real estate, I will tell you, there are exceptions to that rule. So then we would say, okay, listen, I'm expecting this, and this is why I'm going to have to take this call if it comes in. But that's the only one that gets to interrupt this dinner or whatever. So that's where it started. But now it does. I mean, my husband and I take vacations. We're empty nesters now. So we go on vacations. We go off the grid a little bit when we can, where we can. And, sometimes that looks like, listen, if I had to work all weekend long with clients and things like that, that it might look like a Tuesday at 11 o'clock, my husband and I go on a lunch date together and we do the no phones thing and we shut it off for an hour and a half or whatever. So you find your moments where you can, but you can't forget to take care of you and take care of the relationships that aren't business driven.
I like that. What other habits do you think you've made that have contributed to your success?
Well, the first thing is that's actually a great question because habits are everything. In fact, in our coaching, the coaching that I'm doing right now, I'm coaching on the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. Have you all read that?
Yes, I'm listening to the audiobook right now. Yeah.
Are you? I'm telling you, one of the best books that you can connect with in terms of learning how to really get into the groove of what you need, because habits are everything. We like to say, oh, it's my knowledge, it's my drive, it's my this, that, and the other. But the truth of the matter is if you have bad habits, you're going to have bad business in the long run. But if you can create good business or good habits around your business, then your business will thrive. And truly, it doesn't take as much as you would think. A lot of people think, oh, I got to work 10 hours a day. But truly, if you can make X amount of phone calls a day, that has to be a habit that you create. You have to call others, connect with others. And what that looks like in your business is, that's something you have to figure out. But statistically speaking, there are lots of studies that you can look at for any business in terms of how many phone calls do you have to make to have an actual relationship or an actual conversation? How many conversations do you have to make to set an actual appointment? And if you know those statistics, then you can break it down. And for the real estate industry, statistically speaking, if you make 10 calls a day, you'll set one appointment a week. So if you're setting one appointment a week, you're setting 52 appointments. And I always say, if you're awful at closing, if you're horrible at in-person closing, you should still be able to convert 50% of those appointments to contracted business, either a listing or a buyer. And so in the real estate industry, if you can close 26 pieces of business, you will make a healthy 6 figures. So, from there, I kind of like to think, especially if you're coaching with someone, like I do a lot of coaching, but I always recommend you got to work with a coach. I work with a coach myself. I think it's really important. But, if you're being coached well, you should definitely be closing more than 50% of your appointments. And so you can back in the numbers from there.
Awesome.
That makes sense. Well, we had such a great conversation. We could keep talking to you for a long time, but we're going to wrap it up. Tell us where we can meet you or find you.
The best place to find me is if you just go to steps2strength.com. You can connect with all the things. Like I said, I sell real estate in Northern Arizona. I coach real estate agents nationwide. My husband and I have a YouTube channel called Empty Nester Life. You can find all of that at steps2strength.com, and we can connect in whatever way is best for you.
Awesome. We'll put that up in the show notes.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming today. I hope you all had fun with our little coffee talk that we had today. And if you're thinking about writing a book, we make you #1 bestseller here at Elite Online Publishing. We can help you write. If you have an idea, we can turn it into a book, publish and market the book all in one place. Have a great week, everybody. And tune in next time. Make sure you share and subscribe to our podcast.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.